there everyone, and I thank you guys so much for tuning in to yet another orchid adventure with me, Maria Young. Okay folks, so today we are going to be focused on the Vanda varieties and the many different orchids that are considered a part of the Vanda family. Okay, so these are the orchids that we commonly know as the Vanda orchid. And as you can see, they have very distinguished traits in the regards of its growing structure. There are also many other orchids that are considered in the Vanda family. As you can see here, this is a Rinco stylus. And the Rinco stylus is actually very popular for the type of miniature, very fragrant blossoms that it blooms. Now, you will see spikes that'll bloom from this Rinco stylus, and it'll actually have a spheric type of shape in which the formation of the blossoms will bloom off of. And that lends itself to be known as the foxtail orchid. And here we have, folks, a very interesting orchid right here. This is the Engram Orchid. Now, this orchid is also considered a part of the Vanda family, and this blooms in a multitude of blossoms that has a very star-shaped quality and are white and very fragrant. And here we have, folks, the Vanda teres, which mimics the pencil plant. As you can see, the leaves on this is very needly and is not what you would assume to be an orchid, but indeed this is an orchid that is also part of the Vanda family. And also another orchid in which I do not have, but is considered a part of the Vanda family, is the Neo-Venetians, and they are also spectacular orchids. Okay, so let's talk about the plant structure and the growth habit of the Vanda orchid. One of the most popular characteristic of the Vanda orchid, of course, is its very hardy root system. Now, this is an epiphyte orchid, so these roots actually allow this plant to establish itself well onto trees and other vegetation. Now, growing in nature, this means that their root systems are fully exposed, and is the reason, as orchid growers, it is very important that we water and mist these on a daily basis. Because in its natural habitat, these roots are surrounded within an atmosphere that is constantly moist and has high humidity level, meaning that in the rainforest or in the jungle-like atmosphere, they are constantly being watered by the moisture in the fog and in the mist. Okay, so now let's focus on the foliage growth system. The growing habit of the Vanda orchid is based on this one stalk right here in which it grows upward. That is also known as the monopodial type of growth structure of an orchid, similar to the Phalaenopsis orchid. The Vanda orchid grows upward, and you will see the latest growth of the foliage at the very top, again growing upward. Now, depending on the type of foliage it has can also determine what type of lighting it should receive. Now, it is well noted that the broader the leaves are indicates that less lighting is required, while the narrower the leaves are indicates that the lighting should be brighter for this orchid. But just as a general rule for the Vanda orchid, Vandas normally like to have very, very high light, the brightest light that you can actually give it. Vanda orchids are known for being heat-loving plants, loving hot climate. Now, in the daytime, it is commonly known that this orchid thrives well in 80 to 95 degrees, and also at night, 60 to 50 degrees. Now, there are some Vandas that can actually tolerate cold temperatures, but you're really going to have to determine exactly what type of Vanda you have, and of course, do your research. Okay, last but never least, let's talk about the infamous and magnificent blossoms of the Vanda orchid. If your Vanda orchid receives adequate lighting, fertilizing, and also watering, you will be fortunate to have about 2 to 3 blossom spikes per year. Vanda orchids can continue to bloom from the spring months all the way to the autumn season. The flower spike of a Vanda orchid can be found in the most inner center part of the actual leaf. The beginning growth of the flower spike will actually show itself in a very round ball shape. And the older that the flower spike becomes, you will begin to see distinctive shapes of the buds come from this spike. Vanda orchids will commonly have about 5 to 8 blossoms per spike, and depending on the variety of the Vanda, can determine exactly what color variation it will have, what type of patterns, and also the size and the shape of the blossom. And also, some Vanda orchids actually have blossoms that are very, very fragrant. Indeed, the Vanda orchids are quite stunning in their growth habits and also their blooming process. But this orchid requires quite a tedious amount of upkeep in the regards of watering these roots, this plant, on a daily basis. So if you are capable of doing that and love magnificent blooms, then this orchid indeed is for you. And there you have it, folks, all about the Vanda orchids. I thank you guys so much for tuning in to yet another orchid adventure with me, Maria Young. And make sure you guys stay tuned for more. Oh, and I am so sorry I left one particular Vanda off my list, and he's pretty mad. So I'm going to go ahead and cover him now. Now this right here, take a look, guys. Take a look. Will you look at this very interesting Vanda right here? Okay, this is not a Vanda, folks, but let me tell you, I don't want to say that too loud because this maxillaria right here happens to think that he is a Vanda. I didn't want to break his little heart, so indeed I included him with the rest of the Vanda family, and they have accepted him wholeheartedly. As a matter of fact, they have adopted him. Well, the reason why I keep him with the rest of the Vandas is because he likes the Vanda lighting, believe it or not. Because even though it says on the culture of the maxillary orchid that it should be kept in medium light, such as a Phalaenopsis orchid, in all actual reality, folks, from what I have learned, this actually likes high light. That is, if you want it to bloom beautifully. Now, there are a lot of you guys that have commented, and they stated that they are having such a difficult time trying to get these to bloom. Well, folks, in that regard, I say to disregard the culture tip of only medium lighting and try putting it in a brighter lighting, as I have done here, folks, because this has bloomed for me in 3 months, one of my recovery orchids. So indeed, one of my rescue orchids in 3 months bloomed beautifully. So that's just a bonus tip for you guys. All right, that's it. I'm out.